Hi, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good too.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. You know what I have in my house right now? Well, they're not in my house. They're sort of they're out of my house. I have house swallows, no, house sparrows, and they've had
Oh,
babies. And so the two birds are coming every moment they can and bring food. And I think it sounds like there's like 97 birds in the nest now.
yeah.
Two, maybe three, but they're really loud and they're always talking about wanting food. So I think
Fair.
they're my kindred spirits. Have you ever had a bird's nest on your porch?
I have not recently. We found a bird's nest that was no longer needed recently,
Oh,
with the eggshell that had been cracked. And there's a baby bird somewhere in the world that used that nest to live in, but it's not there anymore.
well, and it might be a very big bird now, having its own little baby birds. There you go. Well, are you ready to grow with God? Like those little house sparrows are growing every single day, getting louder and louder every time I go out there.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Excellente. All right, let's see. Let's do that. And we have a gospel.
We do.
We do. It's true. And I need to find that gospel. So it's all these tricky things I have to do, these crazy manipulations. All right, this looks like it might be it. Let me know if I'm wrong. Does that look, yeah, that looks like a gospel.
That looks like a
Excellent.
gospel.
Really awesome. Hopefully it's the one we want.
Right? Is it okay with you if I read this week?
That would be amazing. Thank you for offering.
Gladly. This week's gospel reading is still from our friend John. And it says, Jesus said, "As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Abide in my love.
Mm.
If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you may love one another."
Mm.
And that's the end of our reading.
And it's an awesome sauce reading
It is.
because it feels like sometimes John isn't very clear, and it's kind of nice that it seems really clear, but it's also like there's just a lot in there. So I think, what, is,
What does it
what does it
mean?
mean? I tell you, John. Someday we'll read something like from Luke or Mark, and we'll be like, "Oh, that makes perfect sense." Okay, it'll be the short story with God ever.
Right?
Right? Well, do you have any questions
I
about what
did.
stuff means?
I did. Um, in our story,
Hmm.
it says, "If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love." This is Jesus who's talking. If we
Yeah.
keep Jesus' commandments, you will abide in Jesus' love. What does it mean to keep the commandments?
Oh, that is such a great question. Well, all of our friends who are watching this probably have heard about the Ten Commandments,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of funny because like there's if you look at the Hebrew Bible, there are like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rules. Um, which all sort of point to the 10 commandments. So they're kind of the big rules. And
Yeah.
just in case people have forgotten what the 10 commandments are, I did this. So these are the 10 commandments. And I think
Oh.
kind of what he's pointing to. Um, I am the Lord your God. No other gods before me. No graven images or likenesses. Don't take my name in vain. Remember Sunday. Honor your mom and dad. Don't kill. Don't commit adultery. Don't steal. Don't lie. And don't want what other people have. Those kind
Mm.
of sound familiar. You've heard those before, right?
Yes.
And those are kind of really big rules that we have about who we are as Christians. But I think they're also like those are rules I also heard when I was in school, right? Like if somebody had something I wanted, I didn't just take it.
Right.
Or if somebody had something I really wanted, I didn't sit there and go, oh, I really want it. And then not really sort of see the other good stuff in my life.
Yeah.
So I think when Jesus is talking about keep my commandments, it's not like follow all these rules and here are the rules. It's like know what the rules are so they're in your heart
Mm-hmm.
and kind of keep them as your ways of moving through the world, not um, helping you sort of point your way through, right? So it's like if you can keep my commandments, it's not like keep all of my rules all the time, but sort of know where the boundaries are. It's like I don't know if any of our friends ever use like an Uber or a map app on their phone or their parents' phone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that you got to know where you are before you get to where you're going.
Yeah.
I think Jesus saying, keep my commandments, keep my father's commandments is like, you know where you are on the map. So you know where you're able to go. And I think this whole gospel is sort of like, know who you are. So you know where you're going to go. So I think that's what they're meaning when they say, keep my commandments.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I kind of like it too. Not that I use Uber, but I do use a Google Maps so I can ride my bicycle places
Mm-hmm.
I've never been before. So I sort of always need to know where I'm starting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I have something that I'm not sure I know what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Caleb, in it, we're told that your joy can be complete.
Yeah.
What does it mean to have your joy be complete?
That's a great question. So I think we are talking about joy that comes from God.
Mhm.
And Jesus in this passage says he's saying these things so that God's joy may be in us and our joy may be complete. And I think what I hear from that is that there are different ways that joy can work. So there's the joy that comes from God that's wonderful and fulfilling. And what we're being told in this section of Bible is that there are things that we also are supposed to do to get
Mm,
the full picture.
mhm.
So there's the joy that comes from God. That's a huge, wonderful, amazing thing. And also, there's this thing that we are supposed to do for each other, that we are supposed to love one another, that brings in the rest of it so that
Yeah.
we then have this big thing that didn't quite exist
Mhm.
in the same way before.
Yep.
Not that God needs our joy, but that we in our humanity need to do that extra section to meet God's section and have a big joy fest all together.
Joy fest.
Right?
Like it. That's a great answer. Thank you. That's really helpful. Hmm. I have questions.
I still have some questions.
So many questions. Do you have a question for me? Because I
I
have a question for
do. So which question am I asking you?
you. I
It
think you're
would help if
asking.
I knew that.
Well, the question I'd like to answer
Yes.
would be, what's the fruit that will last? Because it talks about fruit that will last. And
Absolutely.
I have too many bananas. And so I have bananas on my counter right now that I had in a smoothie this morning
Mm-hmm.
because it's so mushy you can't even cut it up anymore. That's not the fruit that will last.
No.
And I've always had lots of fruit on my counter that sometimes I'm like, ooh, I let that go too long. That's scary, right? Which is a good reason that I compost, but that's another story for another day. Um, so I think that what Jesus is pointing to, and this is a story about pointing to about what God's hoping for us in our entire life. And here are all the kind of rules and parameters that kind of keep us on the same place. Because like I have friends who I don't know. Have you ever had a friend who you're playing a game with and the rules change so that they can win?
Yes.
Do
I
you
don't
want
like
to play? Yeah, do you want to play with them ever
it.
again?
It's not as fun. No, I like to know how it works.
I like to know how it works, and I think that the fruit that will last is here's the map, here are the rules. Let's all play by those rules. And if we agree to all of that, then we can actually have some respect and some love and some kinship with each other. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what Jesus is talking about.
Mm.
And as my friend Caleb said to me one time, um, sometimes people won't remember what you did, but they'll remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So I think Caleb was really right on about that because I sometimes don't remember why people are my friends.
Mm-hmm.
But like my friend Stacy texted me yesterday and just something really silly. And it wasn't just something silly, but it was like, oh, my friend Stacy remembered to, was thinking of me. That's fun. That's great. Because my friend Stacy and I have known each other for a long time and we don't change the rules and we're not mean to each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not always in agreement and sometimes we fight, but we always know that we're fighting so we can come back together, not so that we can be mean and awful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the fruit that will last is love, respect, kinship, knowing what the rules are. And and for you and I think you and I've talked about this is and we keep pointing towards God. And we keep pointing towards God because God moves us out of what we want to get
Mm-hmm.
what everybody else wants too. And let's see if we can find that rather than dirty, stinky bananas on the counter rotting. What life would be like if we didn't at least try
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
abide with one another and love one another. So I think that's what he's saying. I don't
That
think he's
makes
talking
a
about
lot of sense. Thank you. And funny enough, that was the question that I was planning to ask you. It worked very well.
weird. That is so strange. Huh. Well, I have a question for you.
Yes,
Do you want to guess what it is or you want me to just ask it?
you can ask it.
Um, how do we practice abiding in love?
That's a great question, Michelle.
I think that may be a question forever.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the other versions of this passage that we looked at talks about abiding in God's love as making yourself at home.
Mm.
It's like when you visit a friend and you're in their space and they say, "Oh, make yourself at home." I think when that happens, what they mean is be comfortable,
Hmm.
relax,
Yeah.
breathe deep,
Yeah.
and also treat this space with the respect and with the care that you would use if it was something really important to you.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
And so when we are abiding in love, I think we try to be comfortable. Sometimes love can be such an intense thing, such a meaningful thing, um, that it's hard to believe it's a real thing.
Mm.
But I think in this, Jesus is telling us, no, get comfortable. This is a real thing. This is a thing that belongs to you. And also treat it with the care and respect that you would if it had originated from you. So
Mm.
we um, look for love. We try to stay in a loving place, both in terms of how people treat us and how we treat other people. And we try to grow and treat it with respect. So God's love is not something that we want to just throw away like it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
That's not abiding. That's not making yourself at home.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding the wonderful, huge thing that it is, as best we can, and taking care of it and taking care of each other as best we can,
Yeah.
I think is how we practice abiding in God's love.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think it's really, what I really liked about your answer to that was the piece about you can get comfortable in my house, but you can't like smear muddy footprints on my carpet and throw
Right?
you sit on the couch in dirty jeans because you probably wouldn't do that at your house. So why are you doing it at mine?
Mm-hmm.
So even though I want you to be comfortable, it's the same thing as like there are boundaries around how comfortable you are. Like comfortable isn't coming in and trashing the place.
Right?
So there's rules to that,
Yeah.
right? And if
It
you and I
doesn't.
know what the rules are, like, you know, there are people in the world, and I don't know if you're one of these people. If I have no judgment about it, um, that they don't take their shoes off when they come into somebody's house, and other people always do.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come into houses in Minnesota in the wintertime where you have to take your shoes off because they're wet. And people will say, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's fine." But you know your shoes are wet. So you go, "Oh, no, I really should because my shoes are wet." So you
Right?
take your shoes off because your shoes are wet, but somebody else walked in with wet shoes. And what do you end up with?
There's
With
still a puddle.
So everybody does it or nobody does it, but sometimes you just need to navigate that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I noticed you didn't say if you were a person who took off your shoes or not.
I try to look for people's shoes when I come in the door. My sister is really good about that. There's a nice little line of shoes when you walk into their home. And so then you can think, oh yeah, this is a place where shoes come off.
That see
Um,
that Yeah, sometimes you can be comfortable, but you need to sort of know what the parameters are. Oh, this has been a good growing with God. I think we should pray and get on out of here. Get on out of here.
yeah, sounds like a plan.
Do you mind if I pray today?
I would love that.
All right. Hmm. Creator God, thank you for this time with my friend Caleb. Thank you for giving us a chance to know where our boundaries are, where we are on the map, how we can practice abiding in your love and really seeking out the fruit that lasts in our lives, the fruit of love and compassion and empathy and knowing each other so that we can really be together as we seek and serve God and all the people that we meet. Thank you for helping us be present. Help us and to continue to find God in not only ourselves, but into each other. And help us remember that that's the work we've been asked to do, whether that's in church or in school or on a field that we're playing a game on, or even when we're playing the world's worst board game ever, because we might be doing it because somebody who loves us asks us to. So help us remember to always be present and abide in your love. And for that opportunity, I say thanks be to God. Amen.
Amen.
What is the world's worst board game, Caleb?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, Depending on how you play it, it might be Monopoly, but my family changed the rules so it ends early.
I like that. I kind of feel that way about Risk. I don't know if you've ever
Fair,
played
fair.
Risk, but I don't like a game that goes on forever. I kind of like a game where everybody feels like they won a little bit. And there's like
Mhm.
Monopoly and Risk, like there's a winner, and then everybody
Right.
else gets crushed. I'm like, I'd rather play cards or Barbie, Queen of the Prom. Well, it's nice spending time with you. I got to go, but we'll see you next week.
Sounds great. See you next week.
I'll go find my Barbie Queen of the Prom game.
Please do. Bye.
Bye.